A maid answers a phone call in Chinese right in front of a millionaire client. What seemed harmless ended up costing her job and revealing a hidden interest. If this story caught your attention, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching from. Stay tuned. The steady hum of conversations, clinking glasses and soft jazz music filled the elegant interior of the Imperial Palace, one of city's most exclusive restaurants. Among the sea of pristine white tablecloths and crystal chandeliers, Lily Chen moved like a shadow, efficient, silent, and practically invisible to the wealthy patrons she served. At 28, Lily had perfected the art of blending into the background, her black uniform neatly pressed, her long dark hair pulled back into a tight bun. She navigated between tables with practiced grace. 7 years at the Imperial Palace had taught her that invisibility was a virtue in this world of power lunches and business deals. The less she was noticed, the better the tips, and God knew she needed every dollar. "Table 12 needs another bottle of the Chateau Margaux," whispered Sophie, another server, as they passed each other near the kitchen entrance. Lily nodded, quickly checking her watch. It was 9:30 p.m., just 2 more hours until her shift ended. 2 more hours until she could return to the small apartment in Chinatown, where her mother, Grace, waited. Her mother's face appeared in her mind, once vibrant and full of laughter, now gaunt and tired from the autoimmune disease that had been slowly claiming her strength for the past 3 years. The expensive medications kept Grace alive, but had buried Lily in debt. Between hospital bills, rent, and the special diet her mother needed, each month became a mathematical puzzle with no solution. As Lily retrieved the wine from the cellar, her phone vibrated in her pocket. Her heart skipped a beat. Calls during shifts were forbidden, but the assisted living facility where her mother stayed during the day sometimes called with emergencies. She ducked into the small staff bathroom, locked the door, and answered quickly. "Wei?" she answered instinctively in Chinese, her voice barely above a whisper. "Lily, it's Mrs. Zhang," came the familiar voice of their elderly neighbor. "Your mother had a bad episode. The nurse from the facility called me when they couldn't reach you. They've taken her to St. Francis Memorial." Lily's hand tightened around the phone. "How bad is it this time?" "The doctor says they need to start a new treatment immediately. Something about her immune system attacking. I didn't understand all the medical terms, but they need approval and they need it now. I'll be there as soon as I can. Please, Mrs. Zhang, can you go sit with her?" "I'm already here, child. But there's something else. They're asking about insurance pre-authorization for the new medication. It's experimental." Lily closed her eyes, leaning against the cool tile wall. Another treatment, more money she didn't have. "Tell them I'll handle it. Thank you, Mrs. Zhang." She ended the call and took 3 deep breaths, composing herself, before returning to the dining room. As she emerged from the back hallway with the wine bottle, she didn't notice the intense gaze following her movements from a corner table. Robert Caldwell, CEO of Caldwell International Investments, sat alone at his usual table by the windows, overlooking the bay. At 52, with salt and pepper hair and piercing blue eyes, Caldwell was known throughout San Francisco's financial district as a ruthless businessman with an uncanny ability to spot untapped potential. Tonight, his attention was fixed on the quiet server who had just answered a phone call in flawless Mandarin. Lily approached table 12, where 4 executives were celebrating a merger. She presented the wine with practiced precision, unaware that Caldwell had signaled to Marcus Floyd, the restaurant manager, who was now watching her with narrowed eyes. 3 tables later, as she cleared dessert plates, Lily felt a tap on her shoulder. "Ms. Chen, a word, please," Marcus said, his voice low but firm. In the manager's office, Lily stood with her hands clasped tightly in front of her as Marcus closed the door. 7 years, Lily. 7 years you've worked here, and you know our policy about personal calls during shifts. It was an emergency. My mother. "I don't need the details," Marcus interrupted. "I'm sorry, but Mr. Fowler has been explicit about enforcing the rules after the incident last month with the leaked celebrity reservation. We need to set an example." The realization hit her like ice water. "You're firing me? Over one phone call?" Marcus slid an envelope across the desk. 2 weeks severance, clear out your locker tonight." Lily felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. 7 years of perfect service, 7 years of holidays missed, of double shifts taken, of smiling through exhaustion. All ended over a 30-second emergency call about her dying mother. "Please, Marcus, I need this job. My mother's medical bills." "I'm sorry, Lily. The decision comes from above." Numb, she collected her few belongings from the staff locker. As she exited through the kitchen's back door into the alley, the cool San Francisco fog enveloped her. Reality set in with each step away from the restaurant. She had just lost her primary source of income, with rent due in 10 days and a new medical treatment to somehow finance. Outside the staff entrance, a sleek black Tesla waited with its engine running. As Lily passed, the back window lowered. "Miss Chen." She turned to find Robert Caldwell watching her from inside the luxury vehicle. "Yes? I believe you might be looking for a new position. I'd like to offer you a ride home and discuss an opportunity." Lily hesitated, clutching her purse tighter. "I understand your reluctance, but I also understand that St. Francis Memorial has excellent specialists in autoimmune disorders, though their experimental treatments can be prohibitively expensive without the right insurance." Her blood ran cold. How could he possibly know about her mother's condition? Caldwell's expression softened slightly. 10 minutes of your time, that's all I ask. In return, I'll ensure your mother receives the best care available while we talk." Logic told Lily to walk away. But when Caldwell held up his phone showing an active call to St. Francis Memorial's financial department, she found herself reaching for the door handle. 10 minutes, she agreed, sliding into the leather seat beside one of San Francisco's most powerful men. As the Tesla pulled away from the curb, Lily stared out at the foggy city streets, unaware that her life had just been set on a trajectory she could never have imagined. In her pocket, her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "The daughter follows the mother's path. The dragon awakens." Lily ignored it, assuming a wrong number. By morning, she would understand just how connected everything truly was. Her mother's illness, her sudden termination, and the mysterious message that would lead her into a world of corporate intrigue where nothing was as it seemed. The Caldwell International Tower stood like a glass monolith against the San Francisco skyline, its 68 floors gleaming in the morning sun. Lily Chen stepped through the revolving doors into the marble-floored lobby, clutching the security badge she'd been issued just 24 hours after her abrupt dismissal from the Imperial Palace. Her reflection in the polished elevator doors revealed a different woman than the invisible server she'd been for 7 years. Today she wore a charcoal-grey pantsuit Caldwell's assistant had delivered to her apartment that morning, along with a note specifying the 58th floor as her destination. The previous night's conversation in Caldwell's Tesla still felt surreal. He had known things about her mother's condition that seemed impossible for a stranger to know. He'd spoken of opportunities, of her linguistic talents being wasted, and had ended their 10-minute meeting with a startling proposition: a 6-month contract position at Caldwell International, with a salary 4 times what she'd made at the Q, a restaurant, and comprehensive medical benefits that would cover her mother's experimental treatments. 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, Ms. Chen, Caldwell had said as his driver navigated the foggy streets. But only 0.3% possess the unique combination of skills and circumstances that interest me. You are in that fraction. When she'd asked why he would hire someone with no corporate experience, his answer had been cryptic. "Let's just say I recognize untapped potential when I see it." Now, as the elevator ascended to the executive floor, Lily's stomach knotted with anxiety. What exactly had she agreed to? The contract she'd signed that morning had been filled with legal jargon about confidentiality and international liaisons. The elevator doors opened directly into a sleek reception area where a woman with a sharp bob and sharper eyes greeted. "Who's Lily Chen? I'm Vanessa Porter, Mr. Caldwell's chief of staff. We've been expecting you." Her handshake was firm, professional, betraying nothing of what she might think about Caldwell's newest hire. "This way, please." Rather than leading her to Caldwell's office, Vanessa guided Lily down a corridor of glass-walled meeting rooms to a small windowless office with a single desk and computer terminal. Your primary responsibility will be translating and processing documents from our Beijing and Shanghai offices, Vanessa explained, gesturing to the computer. All communications are secured through our proprietary system. You'll need to complete the security protocols before accessing any files. Lily nodded, trying to appear confident despite her growing unease. And I report directly to Mr. Caldwell. For now, yes. Vanessa's perfectly lined lips curved into what might have been a smile. Though Thomas Harper from our compliance department will be overseeing your work product. Speaking of which, she checked her watch. He should be here to brief you shortly. I'll leave you to settle in. Alone in the sterile office, Lily tried to quiet the voice in her head that insisted something wasn't right. She'd been hired too quickly, paid too much, and why would a company like Caldwell International need someone with no business experience? Her phone chimed with a text from Mrs. Zhang. Grace is getting the new treatment. Doctors say it's already helping. How did you arrange this? Before Lily could respond, the door opened. A man in his mid-40s entered, his expression grim beneath thinning brown hair. He carried a thick folder stamped with classified in bold red letters. Miss Chen, I'm Thomas Harper. His handshake was cool, his eyes never quite meeting hers. I understand you've been brought in for our Asia-Pacific documentation division. That's what I've been told, Lily replied, studying him. Unlike Vanessa's polished confidence, Harper radiated discomfort, almost guilt. He placed the folder on her desk. These are your security clearance documents. Once processed, you'll have access to Level 3 files. Your translation work begins immediately. He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. Mr. Caldwell has taken a personal interest in your onboarding. That's unusual. Something in his tone made Lily straighten. Is there a problem with that? Harper's eyes finally met hers. A flash of something, warning, crossing his face. Just be careful what you agree to here, Ms. Chen. Not everything is as transparent as our glass walls suggest. Before she could ask what he meant, the door opened again and a distinguished older man with silver hair and a white lab coat entered. Ah, perfect timing, Harper said, his demeanor shifting instantly to professional deference. Ms. Chen, this is Dr. Walter Griffin, head of Caldwell International's Medical Research Division. The doctor's smile didn't reach his eyes as he extended his hand. Ms. Chen, a pleasure. I've just come from St. Francis Memorial, where I've been consulting on your mother's case. Lily's breath caught. You're treating my mother? Overseeing her care, yes. The experimental protocol she's receiving was developed in our labs. Doctor, Griffin's voice was smooth, practiced. I'm pleased to report she's responding well to the initial treatment. We've arranged for her transfer to our private medical facility in Marin County tomorrow. Transfer? But I haven't authorized. Mr. Caldwell has handled all the arrangements, Dr. Griffin interrupted. It's part of your employment package. Our facility offers cutting-edge treatments not available elsewhere. Alarm bells rang in Lily's mind. I'd like to speak with my mother before any transfer happens. Dr. Griffin and Harper exchanged a look. She couldn't interpret. Of course, the doctor said smoothly. I'll arrange a video call this afternoon. But I should mention, Ms. Chen, that these treatments are highly specialized. Their continuation depends on certain collaborative arrangements. Meaning? Dr. Griffin lowered his voice. Meaning that as you work with our international documents, we may occasionally ask you to set aside certain information for the greater good of the company's research goals. I'm sure you understand the importance of discretion when balanced against your mother's well-being. The implication was clear. Her mother's treatment depended on Lily's compliance with whatever they asked of her. Harper cleared his throat. Dr. Griffin, I believe Mr. Caldwell wanted to introduce Ms. Chen to the rest of the team personally. Of course. The doctor nodded, handing Lily a business card. Call my office any time regarding your mother's care. We're all one big family here at Caldwell International. After the doctor left, Harper lingered, his expression troubled. He always so... Listen, Harper cut her off, voice barely above a whisper. 10 years ago, a woman named Grace Chen was employed in our Shanghai office. She was terminated under unusual circumstances. I need to know if that's related to you. Lily felt the blood drain from her face. Her mother had worked as an administrative assistant in Shanghai before moving to America when Lily was 8. She'd never spoken of her previous employment, and Lily had always assumed it was because the memories of China were too painful after her father's disappearance. That was my mother, she admitted, but she never discussed her work there. Harper's expression darkened. I thought as much. Your application to our international program 3 years ago was flagged and rejected because of that connection, though you were never told why. I applied here? I never... Lily stopped, remembering a job application her college advisor had submitted on her behalf to several multinational corporations. She'd never heard back from Caldwell and had assumed she hadn't made the cut. You need to be careful, Ms. Chen. There's a reason Caldwell wanted you specifically, and I doubt it's just your language skills. Before Harper could elaborate, the door swung open again. Robert Caldwell stood in the doorway, flanked by Vanessa and a younger man Lily didn't recognize. Ah, Mr. Harper, I see you're getting our newest team member settled, Caldwell said, his tone pleasant but his eyes sharp. I hope you're not overwhelming Ms. Chen on her first day. Just reviewing security protocols, sir, Harper replied, straightening. Excellent. Caldwell turned his attention to Lily. I trust everything is to your satisfaction. Has Dr. Griffin updated you on your mother's care? Lily nodded, trying to keep her expression neutral despite the turmoil inside. Yes, thank you. It's all very generous. Not at all. Caldwell International takes care of its own. He gestured to the young man beside him. This is Ethan Reynolds, our new Director of Strategic Development. He'll be working closely with you on some of our special projects. Ethan Reynolds couldn't have been more than 35, with the polished good looks of old money and an easy smile that didn't match the calculating assessment in his eyes. Welcome to the team, Lily. I've heard great things about your potential. As they shook hands, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that she had walked willingly into a trap somehow connected to her mother's past, her father's disappearance, and secrets buried long ago. On her new desk, her phone illuminated with another text from the unknown number. The phoenix knows where the dragon sleeps. Your father's journal waits in the old place. This time, Lily knew it wasn't a wrong number at all. Someone was trying to tell her something connected to her mother's mysterious past at Caldwell International, and the father she had believed dead for 20 years. 3 weeks into her position at Caldwell International, Lily had developed a routine that felt both surreal and increasingly unsettling. Each morning, she arrived at 7:30 a.m. to find a stack of documents requiring translation, financial reports, corporate communications, and research briefings, all marked with varying levels of security clearance. By noon, she would receive an encrypted email detailing which passages to prioritize and which to de-emphasize in her final translations. The implications were clear. She was being asked to selectively translate information, effectively filtering what reached the American executives. What troubled her more were the documents she was specifically instructed to route directly to Ethan Reynolds. Technical specifications for experimental pharmaceuticals, many bearing the same coding system as her mother's treatment protocol. Today, as she worked through a particularly dense report from the Shanghai office, Lily noticed a name that made her fingers freeze above the keyboard. Michael Chen, her father's name, buried in a personnel file from 17 years ago. According to the file, he had been a research chemist who died in a laboratory accident, except the date listed was 2 years after his supposed death. Find something interesting? Lily, startled, quickly minimizing the screen as Ethan Reynolds entered her office without knocking. In the weeks since they'd met, she'd learned to be wary of his unannounced visits and probing questions. Behind his progressive rhetoric about corporate transparency and ethical business practices lurked something so calculating. Just working through the quarterly compliance reports, she lied smoothly, gesturing to the stack of papers beside her computer. Ethan leaned against her desk, too close for comfort. You've been exceeding expectations, Lily. Robert is quite impressed with your efficiency. Thank you. She maintained a neutral expression, having learned that Ethan reported everything back to Caldwell. I'm grateful for the opportunity. So grateful that you've been accessing personnel files from our Shanghai office archives? His smile remained, but his eyes hardened. Files from well before your employment here. Her heart thudded against her ribs. I was cross-referencing names mentioned in the compliance reports. Standard procedure according to the protocols Mr. Harper provided. Ethan studied her for a long moment. Thomas has been quite attentive to your training. Unusually so, in fact. He's thorough, Lily replied carefully. Indeed. Ethan straightened, adjusting his already perfect tie. By the way, Dr. Griffin mentioned your mother is showing remarkable improvement. The new treatment protocol is exceeding expectations. The implicit threat wasn't lost on Lily. Her mother's health remained the leverage they held over her. I'm very appreciative of the care she's receiving. Good. Ethan moved toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Robert would like you to accompany me to Beijing next week. We're finalizing some acquisitions that require your linguistic expertise. He smiled again, all charm on the surface. Pack for a week. We leave Monday. After he left, Lily released the breath she'd been holding. Her hands trembled slightly as she retrieved her personal phone from her purse and texted Mrs. Zhang, "Can you check the storage box under my bed and tell me if there's a journal there?" While waiting for a response, she reopened the personnel file she'd found. Her father's employee photo stared back at her, younger than she remembered him, but unmistakably the man who had disappeared when she was 6 years old. According to her mother, he had died in an accident while on a business trip. She had never questioned this narrative, especially after they immigrated to America 2 years later, her mother never speaking of their former life in China. But if this file was correct, Michael Chen had been alive and working for Caldwell's Shanghai division years after his supposed death. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Thomas Harper stood in her doorway, his expression grim. "Ms. Chen, could you join me in conference room C? There's a translation issue we need to discuss." She followed him down the hallway, noting the way he checked over his shoulder before leading her not to a conference room, but to the rarely used fire stairs. "We can't talk in your office," he said quietly, holding the stairwell door for her. "Or anywhere they can hear us." "They? Who's they?" "Reynolds Caldwell, the security team." Harper ran a hand through his thinning hair. "Your office is monitored, audio and video." Lily felt a chill run through her. "Why are you telling me this?" Harper's face was lined with stress. "Because I made a mistake 10 years ago. A mistake that destroyed your mother's career and possibly your father's life." "What are you talking about?" "I was junior compliance officer when your mother was terminated from the Shanghai office. She had flagged certain irregularities in the research division's financial reports, irregularities that implicated several high-level executives in what appeared to be embezzlement." Harper's voice dropped even lower. "I was asked to review her findings and dismiss them, to discredit her." Lily felt as though the floor were tilting beneath her feet. "You helped frame my mother. I signed off on a report that claimed she had fabricated evidence to cover her own financial misdeeds. It was my signature that allowed them to terminate her without severance and blacklist her from the industry." Shame clouded his features. "I was young, ambitious. They promised me advancement. Why tell me this now?" "Because history is repeating itself. The documents you're being asked to manipulate involve the same type of financial irregularities your mother discovered. But this time, it's not just embezzlement. It's something much bigger." He pulled a flash drive from his pocket. "This contains copies of your father's research notes, notes that he continued working on after his death." Lily stared at the small device. "How did you get this?" "It was sent to me anonymously 6 months ago. I've been trying to decode it, but parts are in a technical Chinese dialect I can't translate." He pressed the drive into her hand. "There's a reason Caldwell specifically wanted you, Lily. He knows about your connection to Michael Chen. What I don't understand is why now, after all these years." Before she could respond, the stairwell door above them opened. They froze, listening to footsteps descending toward their level. "We need to get back," Harper whispered urgently. "Review the drive only on a secure computer, not connected to the company network. And be careful in Beijing. Reynolds is not who he appears to be." They slipped back into the hallway just as Vanessa Porter rounded the corner, her eyes narrowing slightly at the sight of them together. "Mr. Harper, Ms. Chen," she acknowledged coolly. "Mr. Caldwell is looking for you, Thomas. Something about the Singapore audit?" "Of course, I was just clarifying some translation protocols with Ms. Chen." Harper's professional mask slipped back into place seamlessly. "I'll head to his office now." As Harper walked away, Vanessa's gaze lingered on Lily. "Working late again, Ms. Chen, such dedication." "Just trying to stay on top of things," Lily replied, acutely aware of the flash drive now burning in her pocket. Indeed, Vanessa's perfect smile revealed nothing. "Don't forget about the executive dinner tomorrow night. Mr. Caldwell specifically requested your attendance." Back in her office, Lily found a response from Mrs. Zhang. "No journal in the storage box, but I found this taped to the bottom of your mother's old jewelry box." Attached was a photo of a small jade pendant with Chinese characters carved into its surface. Lily enlarged the image, her breath catching as she recognized the characters. "The phoenix knows where the dragon sleeps." The same phrase from the mysterious text message. Her phone buzzed again, another text from the unknown number. "The truth lies in the symbols. Beijing will reveal the path. Trust no one at Caldwell." That night, Lily made her first visit to the private medical facility where her mother had been transferred. Located on a secluded estate in Marin County, the Caldwell Medical Research Center resembled a luxury resort more than a hospital, with manicured gardens and private suites for each patient. Grace Chen looked better than she had in years, her complexion healthier, her movements more fluid as she embraced her daughter. "The doctors here are performing miracles," Grace said, leading Lily to a sitting area overlooking the bay. "Doctor, Griffin says I might be able to go home in a few months." Lily smiled, hiding her unease. "That's wonderful, Mom. But you seem troubled." Grace's perceptive eyes hadn't lost their sharpness. "Is it the new job? Is Robert Caldwell treating you well?" The question caught Lily off guard. "You know Mr. Caldwell?" Something flickered across Grace's face, caution, perhaps fear. "I knew of him from my time in Shanghai. His reputation preceded him even then." "Mom," Lily began carefully, "I found some information about Dad, about his work at Caldwell International." Grace's hands tightened around her teacup. "What kind of information?" "Records showing he was alive 2 years after you told me he died. That he was still working for the company." The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken truths. Finally, Grace set down her cup with trembling hands. "There are things I couldn't tell you, Lily. Things that would have put you in danger." She glanced toward the door, then lowered her voice. "Your father discovered something in his research, something people were willing to kill for. He faked his death to protect us, to gather evidence." "Evidence of what?" "Corruption at the highest levels, experimental drugs being tested illegally, money flowing to places it shouldn't." Grace's eyes filled with tears. "I tried to expose part of it years later, but they silenced me. Destroyed my reputation. That's why we came to America, to escape, to start over. But they found us anyway," Lily said, the pieces finally connecting. "Caldwell hired me because of who my parents are." Grace reached for her daughter's hand. "They hired you because they want something your father hid, something only a Chen can access." She pulled the jade pendant from her pocket. "This was his. He left it for you. Said you'd know when it was time." As Lily took the pendant, she noticed tiny markings along its edge, not decorative patterns as she'd first thought, but a sequence of numbers and symbols. "Mom, do you know what these markings mean?" Grace shook her head. "He never told me, but he said the answers were in his journal. The journal that was supposed to be under my bed. It's gone. Then someone already knows you're looking." "Grace's," her voice dropped to a whisper. "Be careful in Beijing, Lily. That's where it all began and where your father might still be waiting." As Lily left the facility, the weight of revelations pressing on her shoulders, she noticed a black sedan parked near her car. Inside, she glimpsed Ethan Reynolds speaking intently on his phone, his eyes following her movements across the parking lot. The game was escalating, and Lily was still learning the rules. One thing was clear. Her trip to Beijing wasn't just about business acquisitions, it was about uncovering the truth her father had risked everything to protect. A truth that powerful people at Caldwell International would do anything to keep buried. Beijing in autumn was a city of contrasts. Ancient temples nestled against ultra-modern skyscrapers, traditional hutongs in the shadow of gleaming corporate headquarters. As their private car navigated the congested streets from the airport to the Caldwell International Asia headquarters, Lily stared out the window, hyper-aware of Ethan Reynolds beside her, constantly checking his phone. "First time back since childhood?" he asked, not looking up from his device. Lily nodded. "It's changed so much." Progress waits for no one. Ethan finally glanced at her. "Robert has arranged a welcome dinner tonight with our Chinese executives. The real work begins tomorrow. We have meetings with the regulatory officials about our new pharmaceutical division." What Ethan didn't know was that Lily had her own agenda for this trip. Before leaving San Francisco, she had spent hours examining the jade pendant and studying the files on Harper's flash drive. The numerical sequences along the pendant's edge matched coordinates in Beijing, specifically an address in the old Zhuanwu district where her family had lived before her father's disappearance. The Caldwell International Asia headquarters occupied the top 15 floors of a gleaming tower in the central business district. As they rode the elevator to the executive floor, Lily mentally rehearsed her plan. The official schedule would keep her busy during the day, but she had mapped out how to slip away that evening after the welcome dinner. "Ms. Chen, welcome to Beijing." An elegant Chinese woman greeted them as they stepped off the elevator. "I'm Lin Wei, VP of Asian Operations. We're delighted to have you joining us this week." As introductions continued, Lily observed the dynamics among the Chinese executives. Most seemed genuinely pleased to meet her, but a few exchanged glances. When her name was mentioned, subtle reactions that confirmed her suspicions that the Chen name carried weight here. Their first day was filled with meetings and facility tours, closely supervised by Ethan. Lily performed her translation duties flawlessly while gathering every scrap of information she could. By late afternoon, she had confirmed what Harper had warned her about. The documents she'd been asked to adjust in her translations were indeed concealing a complex network of financial transactions linking Caldwell's pharmaceutical research to offshore accounts. The welcome dinner was held in a private room at a luxury restaurant overlooking the Forbidden City. Seated between Ethan and Lin Wei, Lily maintained her professional facade while the conversation flowed around her in a mix of English and Mandarin. As the meal progressed, she noticed Lin Wei watching her with particular interest. "Your Mandarin is exceptional, Ms. Chen," Lin said quietly during a lull in the conversation. "Regional inflections of someone from Shanghai, but with the precision of formal academic training. My mother was very insistent on maintaining our language skills after we moved to America," Lily replied. "Your mother?" Lin's eyes narrowed slightly. "Would that be Grace Chen, formerly of our Research Administration Division?" Lily felt Ethan's attention shift to their conversation. "Yes, though that was many years ago." "Indeed." Lin smiled politely, but her eyes held a warning. "Beijing has a long memory, Ms. Chen, especially within these walls." After the elaborate meal concluded, Ethan announced they would continue discussions at a nearby lounge. Lily seized her opportunity. "If you'll excuse me, I need to return to the hotel briefly," she said, feigning a slight headache. "Jet lag catching up with me." Ethan frowned. "I can have a car take you. No need to disrupt everyone's evening. I'll take a taxi and join you shortly." Before he could object further, Lin Wei intervened. "My driver can take Ms. Chen. I insist." She handed Lily a business card with an elegant flourish. "My private number is on the back should you need anything during your stay in Beijing." In the back of Lin's luxury sedan, Lily studied the card. Written in tiny characters on the reverse was a message. "Your father's friend awaits. Trust the Phoenix." The driver didn't take her back to the My Hotel. Instead, they wound through progressively narrower streets until they reached an area of restored traditional courtyard houses. He stopped in front of an unmarked wooden gate. "Miss Lin says you should follow the red lanterns," he said in Mandarin, his only words of the journey. Heart-pounding, Lily walked through the gate into a traditional courtyard illuminated by a string of red paper lanterns. At the far end, an elderly man sat at a stone table, a tea service laid out before him. "Lily Chen," he said, rising slowly. "Do you have your father's eyes?" "Who are you?" she asked, remaining near the entrance. "Professor Zhang Wei. I was your father's research partner at Beta before Caldwell recruited us both." He gestured to the seat across from him. "We have little time. Lin Wei can only keep Reynolds distracted for so long." Cautiously, Lily joined him at the table. "My father is alive, isn't he?" "Yes, in hiding, but alive." Professor Zhang poured tea with practiced precision. For 20 years he has been gathering evidence against Caldwell International, evidence of illegal clinical trials, bribery of officials, and a scheme to manipulate global pharmaceutical markets through controlled drug releases. Why didn't he come back for us? Why let us believe he was dead? To protect you and your mother. The old man's eyes were filled with compassion. After he discovered what Caldwell was doing, there was an attempt on his life. Faking his death was the only way to continue his work safely. And my mother. She was fired for trying to expose financial irregularities. Grace discovered a piece of the puzzle years later, yes. She didn't know your father was alive then. Her investigation came dangerously close to exposing the entire operation. That's why they discredited her so thoroughly. They needed to ensure no one would believe anything she might say. Professor Zhang reached into his jacket and withdrew a small leather-bound book. "Your father's journal. The original, not the decoy they removed from your apartment in San Francisco." Lily's hands trembled as she took it. "How do you know about that?" "We have sources within Caldwell, just as they have eyes everywhere." He tapped the book. "This contains the encryption keys to access the full documentation your father has assembled. Names, dates, transaction records. Everything needed to bring down Robert Caldwell and his entire operation. But why now? Why reach out to me after all these years?" "Because Caldwell is on the verge of his endgame. The new pharmaceutical line your team is here to discuss with Chinese regulators. It's not what they claim. The drug's formula has been deliberately altered to create dependency while appearing to treat symptoms. If approved, it would be distributed globally through Caldwell's network, creating millions of patients dependent on continued treatment." The scope of the conspiracy staggered Lily. "And my mother's treatment? Is that part of this too?" "Yes. The protocol she's receiving is the genuine version, effective and safe. But what they plan to distribute is different." Professor Zhang's expression darkened. "Your mother was chosen as a test subject specifically to control you. How do I find my father? He will find you. Now that you have the journal, he will—" "No, it's time." The old man looked toward the gate. "You should go, take a different route back to your hotel. Reynolds will be looking for you by now." As Lily stood to leave, Professor Zhang caught her wrist. "One more thing. Thomas Harper, do not trust him completely. His role in this is complicated. He's been helping me. He gave me a flash drive with some of my father's research." "Yes, but his motivations are not entirely clear. He was more deeply involved in your mother's termination than he has admitted. Be cautious." Outside the courtyard, the night air had turned cool. Lily tucked the journal securely inside her jacket and took a circuitous route back to the main road, where she hailed a taxi to her hotel. In her room, she double-locked the door before carefully examining her father's journal. The pages contained what appeared to be ordinary research notes, but applying the decryption method she'd learned from Harper's flash drive revealed hidden text in the margins. Names of Caldwell executives, dates of meetings, account numbers, all meticulously documented over 20 years. Most disturbing were the clinical trial results showing the deliberate manipulation of pharmaceutical formulas to maximize dependency while minimizing production costs. Just before midnight, her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. "Missed you at the lounge, breakfast meeting tomorrow 7 a.m, don't be late." A moment later, another text arrived from Lin Wei's number. "Be careful what you say tomorrow, Reynolds." Suspects. Sleep eluded her that night as she photographed key pages from the journal and encrypted the images using an app Harper had provided. Shortly before dawn, she was startled by a soft knock at her door. Cautiously approaching, she asked, "Who is it?" "Hotel security, Miss Chen. We have an urgent message for you." Something in the voice made her hesitate. Instead of opening the door, she moved to the window and peered down at the street below. A black van was parked outside the hotel entrance, its engine running. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Don't open the door. Take the service elevator to Wei." The basement. A grey Audi is waiting. Heart racing, Lily gathered the journal and her essential belongings into her shoulder bag. The knocking at her door became more insistent. "Miss Chen, please open the door. There's been a security incident we need to discuss." Moving silently, she slipped out the connecting door to the adjacent room, which she'd intentionally booked under another name as Harper had suggested. From there she made her way to the service elevator and descended to the basement parking level. The grey Audi was idling near the service entrance, its driver obscured behind tinted windows. As she approached, the back door opened automatically. Inside sat a man in his 60s, his face lined with age but his eyes instantly familiar, the same eyes she saw in the mirror every day. "Dad." The word came out as a whisper. Michael Chen reached for his daughter's hand. "We don't have much time, Lily. Caldwell's people are everywhere and they know what you've discovered." As the car accelerated up the ramp and into the early morning Beijing traffic, Lily struggled to process the reality of sitting beside her father, a man she had mourned as dead for 20 years. "I have so many questions," she began. "And I'll answer them all," he promised. "But first we need to get you somewhere safe. Tomorrow Caldwell and Reynolds plan to finalize agreements with Chinese regulators that will put their plan into motion. We have less than 24 hours to stop them." The Audi weaved through increasingly congested streets as Beijing awakened. In the distance, the Caldwell International Tower gleamed in the morning light, unaware that its carefully constructed empire of secrets was about to face its greatest threat, a family reunited and determined to expose the truth, no matter the cost. The safe house was a modest apartment in a nondescript building on the outskirts of Beijing. Inside, the space had been converted into a command center, multiple computer monitors displaying surveillance feeds, financial data streams, and pharmaceutical research documents. Lily sat across from her father, still struggling to reconcile the man before her with the memory of the father she'd lost 2 decades ago. Michael Chen's hair had grayed, deep lines etched around his eyes, but his determined expression remained unchanged. "For 20 years I've been tracking Caldwell's operations," Michael explained, pulling up files on a nearby laptop. "What began as financial fraud evolved into something far more sinister." "The pharmaceutical manipulations," Lily said. "Professor Zhang told me." Michael nodded. "Caldwell discovered that slightly altering molecular structures of effective treatments could create medications that address symptoms while generating dependency. Patients experience improvement but require ongoing medication, creating perpetual customers. And the new drug they're launching? Their masterpiece." Michael's expression darkened. "Marketed as a breakthrough treatment for autoimmune disorders, precisely like your mother's condition. Once approved, it would be prescribed to millions globally. But why involve me now? Why did Caldwell hire me?" "Because of this." Michael opened a secure file on his computer showing a complex molecular diagram. "The complete formula exists, in only one place, encrypted and split between 3 security keys. I have one. Your mother unknowingly carried another in that jade pendant. The third," he looked directly at Lily, "the third is biometric, keyed to Chen family DNA." Understanding dawned on Lily. "They didn't hire me for my language skills. They hired me to access the final key." "Exactly. When you applied to their international program years ago, your DNA was collected during the routine medical examination. They discovered you were a match but couldn't act then without raising suspicions. They needed a plausible reason to bring you in." "So they orchestrated my firing from the restaurant," Lily said, pieces falling into place. "Created a situation where I'd be desperate enough to accept their offer without question, and positioned themselves as saviors by providing your mother's treatment." Michael's voice tightened with barely controlled anger. They've been monitoring Grace for years, waiting for the perfect leverage. Does Mum know you're alive? Pain flashed across Michael's features. No, I couldn't risk contacting her. The fewer people who knew, the safer you both were. He hesitated. How is she? Better, thanks to the treatment, but they're keeping her isolated at their private facility. Lily reached for her father's hand. She never stopped wearing your ring, Dad. Never stopped loving you. Michael blinked back tears before refocusing on the task at hand. Lin Wei has informed me that Caldwell and Reynolds moved up their meeting with the regulatory officials to this afternoon. Once they secure preliminary approval, the production process begins. We need to stop them, Lily said firmly. But how? They've got power, money, influence. What they don't have is this. Michael held up a small drive. Complete documentation of their pharmaceutical fraud, financial crimes, and illegal testing, including their plans for the manipulated formula. With your journal and the files, from Harper's drive, we have everything needed to expose them. Speaking of Harper, Professor Zhang warned me not to trust him completely. Michael's expression grew serious. Thomas Harper's role is more complicated. He was complicit in your mother's termination, yes, but something changed him. For the past 5 years, he's been providing information, trying to make amends. Could it be a trap? Caldwell using Harper to track your movements? Possible. That's why I've kept Harper at arm's length. The flash drive he gave you contained genuine information, but also a tracking program. Lily's blood ran cold. Then they know I've been accessing the files. They know something was accessed, but not what or by whom. I implemented countermeasures. When we detected the tracking code, Michael checked his watch. We need to move quickly. Our contact at the regulatory agency can only stall the approval for a few hours. A phone buzzed on the table. Lily's work phone showing Ethan Reynolds, calling for the 3rd time. Michael nodded for her to answer, activating a recording device. Lily, where the hell are you? Ethan's voice was tightly controlled. We have the regulatory meeting in 2 hours. I'm not feeling well, she replied, feigning weakness in her voice. Something I ate last night. I'm at a clinic getting checked. Out. Which clinic? I'll send a car. That's not necessary. I should be fine. This isn't optional, Lily. Ethan cut in, his facade slipping. Your presence at this meeting is required, non-negotiable. I understand. I'll meet you at the office in an hour. After ending the call, she looked at her. Father, now what? Now we initiate our contingency plan. Michael turned to a woman Lily hadn't noticed before, working quietly at a computer in the corner. Jessica, it's time. The woman nodded, typing rapidly. Uploading documents to all targeted outlets now. Financial records to regulatory authorities and journalists, clinical data to medical review boards, internal communications to law enforcement. Agencies. Triggering simultaneous release in 3 minutes. Michael turned back to Lily. Jessica Chen Williams, your cousin from your mother's side. She's been working with me for the past 5 years. Jessica gave Lily a quick smile. Nice. To finally meet you, Lily. Uncle Michael talks about you constantly. We're releasing everything? Lily asked. Not quite everything, Michael replied. We're holding back the most damning evidence as insurance. You're going to take it directly to the regulatory meeting. Won't they just have me arrested? Or worse? Not with Lin Wei's protection. She's been our inside ally for years, working her way up through Caldwell's organization, gathering evidence. The regulatory officials trust her implicitly. Upload complete, Jessica announced. Media outlets are beginning to receive the information. First online reports should appear within 20 minutes. Michael handed Lily a small, elegant pen. This contains the final evidence, including the unaltered pharmaceutical formulas, proving deliberate manipulation. It also has a recording of Reynolds explicitly discussing how the drug creates dependency. Give this directly to Director Joe at the regulatory meeting. And if Caldwell or Reynolds tries to stop me, they won't risk creating a scene in front of Chinese officials. Besides, Michael smiled grimly, in about 15 minutes, they'll have much bigger problems to deal with. True to Michael's prediction, chaos erupted while Lily was en route to the Caldwell offices. Her phone exploded with notifications. News alerts about Caldwell International facing multiple investigations, the company's stock plummeting, and Robert Caldwell being questioned by authorities in Beijing. When she arrived at Caldwell's Beijing headquarters, security was in disarray. She found Ethan Reynolds in the conference room, frantically making calls while watching financial news on multiple screens. "What the hell is happening?" he demanded when she entered. "I think you know," Lily replied calmly. "It's over, Ethan. The truth about the pharmaceutical manipulations, the offshore accounts, all of it. It's being exposed as we speak." Reynolds' expression shifted from anger to calculation. "These are baseless allegations that will be disproven, and you'd be wise to remember your mother's treatment depends on your continued cooperation." "Actually, it doesn't." A new voice entered the conversation as Lin Wei stepped into the room, accompanied by two official-looking Chinese men. "Ms. Chen's mother has already been moved to Beijing United Hospital, where she'll receive the proper unmanipulated treatment." "Director Zhou," Lin continued, addressing the older of the two officials, "allow me to introduce Lily Chen, who has additional documentation regarding the formula Caldwell International submitted for approval." Ethan stepped forward. "This is a corporate espionage situation, Miss. Chen has been compromised by competitors." "Mr. Reynolds," Director Zhou interrupted, "perhaps you'd like to explain why the formula submitted to my office differs significantly from the one your production facilities are prepared to manufacture. How a scientist discovered the discrepancy this morning." As Reynolds fumbled for a response, Lily handed the special pen to Director Zhou. "This contains the original research, showing how the formula was deliberately altered to create patient dependency while maintaining plausible deniability." The younger official connected the pen to his tablet, and the room fell silent as the damning evidence appeared on the conference room's main screen, including a video of Reynolds explicitly discussing with Caldwell how the altered formula would create a captive market of patients who can't function without our product. "Mr. Reynolds, you are welcome to contact your legal representation," Director Zhou said formally. "You will be questioned regarding these materials." Within hours, the Caldwell empire began to crumble. Robert Caldwell was detained at Beijing Capital International Airport, attempting to flee the country. Worldwide, investigations were launched into Caldwell International's pharmaceutical practices, financial transactions, and corporate governance. In a private room at Beijing United Hospital, Grace Chen looked up as the door opened, expecting to see her daughter. Instead, she found herself staring at the husband she had mourned for 20 years. "Michael," she whispered, her hand reaching instinctively for the wedding ring she still wore. "Grace," his voice broke as he moved to her bedside, "I'm so sorry for everything." When Lily arrived minutes later, she found her parents embracing, 20 years of separation dissolving in a flood of tears and whispered explanations. Standing in the doorway, she felt a presence beside her. "You did well," Thomas Harper said quietly. "Better than I ever could." She studied him, remembering her father's words about Harper's complicated role. "Why did you help us? Really?" Harper's eyes reflected years of guilt. "Because 10 years ago I chose career advancement over doing what was right. I've had to live with watching what that decision did to your mother, to families like yours. Some mistakes you don't get to take back. You can only try to balance the scales." 2 months later, on a crisp December morning in San Francisco, Lily stood on the balcony of her parents' new home overlooking the bay. Behind her, the sound of family gathering for breakfast, her mother's laughter, her father's deep voice, her cousin Jessica teasing her new boyfriend, created the soundtrack she had thought forever lost. Her phone buzzed with a news alert. Former Caldwell executives indicted on 42 counts of fraud and conspiracy. The accompanying photo showed Ethan Reynolds being escorted into a federal courthouse. "Still following the case?" her father asked, joining her on the balcony with 2 steaming cups of tea. "Last loose end," Lily replied, accepting the cup. "The investigation found offshore accounts we didn't even know about, shell companies funneling money to political campaigns around the world. There will always be more to uncover. That's why your mother and I decided to accept the WHO's offer to head their new pharmaceutical oversight division." Michael squeezed her shoulder gently. "They could use someone with your skills too, you know." Lily smiled, considering the international security consulting firm that had been courting her since the Caldwell revelations. Life had offered her many paths forward, all far from the invisible existence she'd led just months ago. "I think I need some time first," she said, watching sunlight sparkle on the bay. "To just be a daughter again, to have family dinners without conspiracies and corporate espionage." Michael nodded in understanding. "Time is the one thing I thought I'd never have again, time with you, with your mother. Whatever you decide, we'll support you." Inside, Grace called them to breakfast. As they turned to join the family, Lily's phone buzzed one final time. A text from Lin Wei. "New information discovered in Shanghai archives. When you're ready, the work continues." Lily slipped the phone into her pocket without responding. The message would wait. For now, the most valuable thing in her world was sitting down at a table with both her parents, something she had never dared to dream possible. As she took her place at the breakfast table, Grace raised her glass in a toast to truth that refuses to stay buried. "To family reunited," Michael added. Lily looked around at the faces of those who had risked everything for justice, for each other. "Two answered phone calls," she said with a smile, "and the courage to pick up when destiny calls." Outside, San Francisco awakened to a new day, unaware that its skyline had been forever altered by the fall of a corrupt empire, all because one invisible waitress had answered a phone call in her native tongue, setting in motion a chain of events that even the powerful Robert Caldwell couldn't control. Sometimes the most momentous changes begin with the smallest actions. For Lily Chen, it had begun with a single word spoken in Chinese, in a restaurant where she thought no one was listening. Did you enjoy the story of Lily Chen and her family's fight against corporate corruption? This journey of truth, family, and redemption is just one of many captivating narratives we create for listeners like you. For more emotional and thrilling stories that explore the complexities of human relationships and courage in the face of power, subscribe to our channel by clicking the button on your left. If this story touched your heart, please leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. We craft new, unique stories every day that will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very end. Don't miss our upcoming content. We can't wait to take you on another unforgettable journey tomorrow.